Welcome to Chapter 8 of the Washington State Beekeepers Association Apprentice Beekeeping course, where we will take a look at native pollinators. There are many key pollinators in Washington State, including butterflies, moths, bats, hummingbirds, and other bee species that provide pollination. Let's look at some facts about the other species of bee pollinators. There are approximately 4,000 native bee species in the United States and over 600 in Washington State. Native bees, including the native leafcutter, mason, bumblebees, and many other bee families, are found right here in the Northwest. Native bees are the most important pollinators of native wild plants, helping to maintain ecosystem diversity. Solitary bees gather both nectar and pollen in the same trip, while honeybees usually concentrate on one or the other. Understanding the role that other pollinators play in the pollination service is important. Raising or encouraging native bee populations may provide sufficient pollination for small or backyard orchards and berry patches, but is not considered effective for large fields. Having both native bees and honeybees have been shown to greatly increase yields for some crops. Large number of honeybees can actively harm native bee populations because they are competing for nectar and pollen. This may not be a problem when flowers are plentiful, but in environments where resources are limited, native bees are usually overwhelmed when a large number of hives are moved into the area or an apiary expands. With best intentions, movement to help save the honeybees can increase the pressure on native bees and worsen their decline. Let's take a look at a few of our local pollinators found right here in Washington State. There are approximately 115 species of leafcutter bees in North America, including both native and non-native species, and are non-aggressive. Their name comes from the large scissor-like mandibles they use to gather pieces of leaves, flower petal, mud, or plant resin for the constructions of their nest. Bumblebees are active from early in the spring to late fall. Over 40 species of bumblebees are native to North America, and of these, only one species, the Bombus impatient, is reared by commercial producers. While bumblebees are harder to raise than honeybees, and their colonies usually contain no more than 300 bees compared to 30,000 to 70,000 in a large honeybee colony, they tend to be extremely effective. They usually have longer tongues than the honeybees, so are able to reach nectar sources that are located deep in the flowers. They can fly in colder weather and lower light. They have the ability to pollinate and are easier to use in greenhouse conditions. For crops that get a better fruit set from buzz pollination like tomatoes, peppers, and blueberries, bumblebees are most effective. Bumblebees vibrate the muscle in their thorax when grabbing the anther with their mandibles, resulting in pollen being shaken out of the pores into the anthers. There is an audible sound from this process from which the name buzz pollination derives. Using bumblebees to pollinate tomatoes instead of relying solely on wild pollinators results in a 90% increase set and the weight of the fruit doubles. Mason bees are also effective pollinators and have been managed for pollination services since the 1990s. These are solitary bees, meaning that each female independently constructs her own nest, provides stores, and lays eggs. There is no queen and they don't live together in a social structure. Some mason bees are gregarious, meaning that they tend to construct their nests near each other so that they take advantage of using a single structure to lay their eggs. One of the most well-known mason bees is the blue orchard bee, the bob. It is approximately the same size as a honeybee worker, although rounder in shape and metallic blue. 250 to 300 females will pollinate an entire acre of apples and cherries. Bobs forage and pollinate under cloudy skies and at low temperatures than most other bees. The blue orchard bees are considered a good supplement to honeybees in almond pollination. These native bees earn their name from their tendency to collect salt from animal sweat, including human sweat. They are mostly small and are able to climb deep into flowers to drink nectar and collect pollen. Some of the 3,500 known species are quasi-social, with mother and daughters living together but not sharing labor, and there is no queen. They usually nest in the ground in a vertical tunnel with side channels in which they lay their eggs, or in partially rotted wood. They are good pollinators of a wide variety of plants. And this concludes the local pollinators. This concludes Chapter 8 of the Washington State Beekeepers Association Apprentice course. Please complete all assigned reading and videos for this chapter, as well as joining me for a 1-hour chapter review at the appointed date and time.